Before I start with today's video, I'm going to tell you right now, you probably are going to think that I am the world's most extra mom out there, and that is okay because it makes me happy, and I know it makes my kids happy when I just go the extra mile. Today, what I'm going to show you how to do is make our own custom wrapping paper. I have made my son's Christmas wrapping paper. He is a total gamer kid, so I made him some gamer themed wrapping paper. And I made my daughter a dinosaur Christmas custom wrapping paper. Why? Because although she may almost be 19 years old, she loves dinosaurs. Now I have a 24-inch printer here in the Craft Castle, so I actually get to just make these right at home, but I am going to show you today how to create the custom design of this and then how to figure out where to print this if you don't have your own 24-inch printer. I do have to tell you though, when you decide to purchase a 24-inch printer, it is going to change your life. I never thought I would find so many uses for my 24-inch printer, but I have. Just like this right here. I knew a couple years ago when I first got my 24-inch printer that I wanted to figure out how to make my own wrapping paper, and we're back with our own custom wrapping paper. The print quality of this is absolutely amazing. The great thing is that we are actually going to create all of this design free. I'm going to show you how we use Canva to create this design for free. Now, I personally am going to be using clip arts that I find at Creative Fabrica. But if you have other clip arts that you like to use or create your own or whatever, you don't have to use what I use. The beauty of this project is that I'm going to show you how we create the custom wrapping paper in any theme. You just have to know what theme you want to do, and then you create it. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. And then I'm also going to show you how I use my 24-inch printer. So if you are interested in getting your own 24-inch printer, just know that this is a project that you can do with your brand new 24-inch printer. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Okay, so the very first thing I am going to do is head over to creativefabrica.com, and I am going to search for the images that I want to use for my wrapping paper. Now, this wrapping paper is going to be your wrapping paper. So wherever you love to find images, that's where you want to go. But for, let's say, my daughter's wrapping paper, all I did is I put in dinosaur Christmas, and I just surfed every single one of these until I found the particular file that I ended up using for my daughter's watercolor Christmas sheet. Now, I will link what I used in the description of this video if you also wanted to make the same type of design as me. But instead, since I already have my daughters, what I'm going to do is do my son this time. And this time, I'm going to come over here into the search filter, and I'm going to do Gamer Christmas. And this one right here is the one that I chose to download because it has a bunch of different illustrations of Christmas and gamer controllers. So I just downloaded this. Then when you're done doing that, what you want to do is head over to canva.com. Now let's take a pause here, because if you are using your own 24-inch printer, then you'll know exactly what size you'll need to create your design. However, if you are going to be sending this over to a Walgreens or CVS, what you then need to do is go to their website. So we're going to go to like walgreens.com, and then you want to go into photo, and then we are going to shop all photo products. Now what we want to do is come over here into posters. And this is where you're going to come over here into posters. Now you want to keep it at the satin paper, and then this one right here, the largest size you can do is 24 by 36. So you want to now create your page size over in Canva to the page that you are going to be printing. So for me, I have my own 24-inch printer, so I can create my size, any size that I want outside of the width of being 24 inches. I have a full roll of this paper. So what I'm going to do is come over here into create a design, and I am going to come down here to custom sizes. I'm going to come over here and change it from units, from pixels over to inches. And I'm going to create a size for me. So for me, I'm going to need 24 inches wide, and I'm going to do a 72-inch long print. When I'm done, I'm just going to press create new design. Now, if you're going to be sending this over to Walgreens, you want to make sure that you print exactly what this is so it doesn't get resized, okay? Now when we're over in Canva, we are now at the point of where we have our page size, right? Okay, so going back over into Canva, you can see that our page is set up to the size that I need. It will be different if you're creating a different size. Now what I want to do first is find that downloaded file that I got off of Creative Fabrica of all of those watercolor gamer controllers. I'm going to open this up and all of these are going to be right here. There should be 31 of them. What I'm going to do now is selecting all of these and I'm going to drag and drop them into Canva. So all 31 are going to upload into my design. If you don't see them here, you can come over here into this, like you can see it's kind of filling up a little bit. We're going to go over here and these are all starting to download. So it's going to take a second. It may take a second, depends on how your internet's doing, but here they go. They're starting to come into my screen. Okay, while we wait for everything to load up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here into elements. Now this is definitely optional. If you remember right, and let me pull up my daughter's wrapping paper. Okay, so my daughter's wrapping paper has this like brownish watercolor tint to it, right? I prefer that. However, let's go over into the layers box and let's just delete this background. So if I were to delete it, my background of my wrapping paper would be white. This is your custom wrapping paper, so you can honestly do whatever you want. If you want to create it a solid color, you totally can. I prefer, since I'm going to be doing a watercolor, I prefer a watercolor background. So going back over into my son's design, what I want to do is come up here to elements and I want to choose a watercolor background. Now, if you are using Canva Pro, if you pay for Canva Pro, you can use all of these things that have a crown. If you do not pay for Canva Pro, these designs that don't have a crown on them are the ones that you're going to be able to use. So you just want to keep that in mind. And my son's favorite color is red, so I'm going to do a red watercolor background. Now all you need to do is find the background that you want to use for your project. I think I'm going to use this one and I'm just going to blow it up and I'm going to create multiples of these. So we have my entire background is nice and red. Now what I want to do is click on something and then click on this position. And we're going to go into the layers box and I'm going to take all of my red background layers and I'm going to drag them all the way down to the very bottom behind all of my remotes. Now what I'm going to do is right click and I am going to lock these in place. That way they won't move and I can now mess around with these remote controls. Okay, now this is super easy. All you need to do is resize all of these little remotes to fit onto your page. I personally like to make them a bunch of different sizes. And I'm only going to focus in on like the very top part of this because I will show you in a second how we resize this and make it a little bit more scattered looking. But all I'm going to do is just make these super small and fill up just a little page of this. And I see how I have these kind of like off to the side. So when we do like traditional actual paper, it looks like, you know, it gets carried over. That's what I'm trying to look for and go for, is just make it a little bit more unique. And you can make this as tight as you want, as loose as you want. It's your wrapping paper. Possibilities are endless. Okay, so I have all of these filled up, right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to select all of my remote controllers and I'm going to group them just for right now. And you can make them smaller if you wanted to, but what I'm going to do is fill up the rest of my page. So I'm going to copy and paste. And I am just going to drag these around. It's okay if they're overlapping right now because we're going to go ahead and fix that in a second. But I just want to make sure and fill up my entire page with a bunch of these remotes. And again, like, you're going to be able to move these around on your preference. So if you do not like the way that my wrapping paper looks, that's okay because you can make it your own. Now what I'm going to do is select all of my groups and I am just going to ungroup them. And then zooming in, I am just going to make sure that like none of this stuff is touching or overlapping. That's, again, my preference. If you want your stuff to overlap, you totally can. I just am going to make sure that nothing is overlapping and they're all like a free flowing remote control. I mean, even if they are overlapping, I'm sure my son's not going to see it, but you know, just in case someone's like, oh my gosh, they're touching, you know. This is honestly the longest part of the process, but it is still really easy. Okay, now let's zoom out. I've made sure that everything's not touching, but let's just zoom out a little bit. I love the look of this. However, the one thing that I do want to change is going to be the background. I kind of want to make this not so dark. It looks like it's a bleeding. So I'm just going to take all of the stuff that I locked earlier and I'm going to unlock it. And then I'm going to come over here to this transparency and I'm just going to make it a little bit lighter like that. So it's not as pronounced. Now, when we zoom in, I like the look of this. So just a little change makes things look more my style. Now, if you're happy with the way your wrapping paper looks, what you can do is first save your work. We're going to press share and then download. Now, I particularly am going to be using my printer, and so I am going to download this as a PDF print and then press download. However, if you are using Walgreens or CVS, you need to verify what file format they accept for their website. Whatever format they accept is what you want to save your file as, and then you can upload it onto the CVS or Walgreens app. Now, depending on what size you make your file, it may take a little bit for it to download because it's going to be an exceptionally large megabytes, or I don't know what you call that, a large sized file. So it may take a minute. Now my 24-inch printer is already set up with my paper and the ink and everything like that. So all I have to do is press print. But look at this. Fits perfect in this little cuppy in my craft room. Now, if you're going to be printing this from your computer using the same printer as me, all you want to do is just press print. We want to make sure and use our page setup size, and you want to make sure and set this up to the same size that you are printing. So for mine, I have 24 by 72. I'm not going to do any type of border, and we're just going to press OK and then press OK. So now I am printing on the correct thing. What I want to do now is set up my printer. So I want to make sure I have my printer selected. I'm going to come down to paper handling and I want to make sure and print it on the right size, 24 by 72. Now all I'm going to do is press print. Now my printer is going to start printing, but I have to tell you that because the file size is so large, it may take a minute for your printer to actually think about wanting to print because the file size is going to be huge. But once it's done printing, we are going to have the coolest custom wrapping paper. Look at the custom wrapping paper. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait to wrap my son's gifts in these. Didn't this turn out so good? The print quality, absolutely fabulous. I kind of really love making my own wrapping paper now. Seriously. As I was making this, I was thinking about my best friend and she is a total Swiftie. I think I'm going to make her, because I am going to get her something for Christmas, I think I'm going to make her her own custom wrapping paper with Taylor Swift all over it. I think that's going to really bring joy to her life. She likes getting gifts, but Taylor Swift wrapping paper, I'm sure she'll keep it forever. One thing that I forgot to note, which I probably should have when we were designing this, is that, you know how I did mention Taylor Swift? So if you don't have your own 24-inch printer at home, I'm going to say this out loud because I actually ran into this issue myself. So recently I went back to Kentucky to be with my best friend during a crisis of her life. And I was trying to make her happy. So I made these like super gigantic Christmas picture things. I'll put a picture right here of what I made for her. They turned out really cool. But I was in Kentucky doing that project and it was like totally, I winged it, right? So if I was at home, I would have just printed it out on my printer and never had to deal with like Walgreens or CVS. However, I created all of that, the stuff that I made for my best friend and had Walgreens print it. And when I went to Walgreens, They were giving me the biggest fit about selling them to me because I was using copyrighted images. I was using Grinch and whatever. And so like if you are going to be using an image like Taylor Swift or Bluey or anything like that, just know that you may have an issue with Walgreens or CVS not wanting to print your print because you are using copyrighted characters. Obviously, I was able to pick it up and use them, but just know that we were given a hard time about trying to pick up the prints in the very beginning. So just know that that is a possibility. All right, friends, I sure hope that you loved making your own wrapping paper, and I hope that I inspired you to create, and I'll see you next time.